What I see here is things fall apart.
Wow, things fall apart.
Things seem to be falling apart.
How are things falling apart?
Yeah, you can see that. You know, if you look around, there's a guy there that is trying to hide behind a lady. You know, the more you look, the less you see.
To you, this is Nigerian things fall apart.
Yes.
That's what you can see here.
Yes. It's a monocolor stuff.
Okay.
You know, Jerry's art is purely abstract.
Okay.
You know, you are left to imagine what the art is all about. Imagination. You know.
Everybody can say different.
You just interpret it the way you like it.
It is
Love in the make.
love in the making.
Yes.
Some people would say it's just
yes.
let me be an hijab.
Sure.
Some people would say different thing right here.
Yes.
So you took it things fall
apart.
That's beautiful.
Yes, things fall
so
apart.
much.
Oh, you're a real pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you are part of the art.
I'm part of the art.
Oh, yes.
Archer. Archer.
Wow, it's nice to have you guys here at the exhibition. Can you tell us who you guys are? Who are you? What's your name?
My name is Pippi Sogard. I work for the Norwegian Embassy here in Abuja.
What?
And it is not my first visit to Thought Pyramid Center. I've been here many times before.
Okay, so that means you're a lover of art.
Yes, very much.
So what can you tell me about some of the arts you've actually seen here today? What would you say about it?
Well, I would say that I'm a bit old-fashioned because I like figurative art. And I like some of the paintings or some of the drawings that are figurative more than the abstract ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're more of the figurative art.
Yeah.
So I want to ask something. Do you paint? Like, do you do something? Have you done something for yourself? Or can you still do something?
Sorry?
Do you draw for yourself?
Yeah, she's good at drawing.
When I sit in a meeting and I get bored, I start drawing in my notebook.
Oh my goodness, when you get bored at a meeting and the next thing you start doing is...
That's where art comes out, you know.
Even if I'm not bored, but if a meeting takes very long time, I start drawing.
Oh, you start drawing.
Yeah.
It's as if I need to take you to a very boring meeting so that you start drawing.
No. Even the interesting meetings, if I know the subject matter very well from before, so I don't need to take notes, I start drawing.
Start drawing. Oh, it's so unfortunate.
But it's always it's figurative, or it's like, you know, the Islamic forms that are no animals, no people, but just geometric forms.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. I can say this is your husband.
It is.
Wow. It's like
My husband of almost 40 years.
I wasn't born bad. So you support your wife in this field, I guess.
Indeed, you know. So I came here because of that, you see.
Okay.
I enjoyed the art scene in this city. It's really great since we have been here.
Okay.
It's amazing the kind of interest and the kind of creativity that we can actually funny, yeah.
Oh, that's very beautiful. So you're really enjoying the artistic of your wife and everything right here in Nigeria.
But we would like, last time we were here, it was a photographic exhibition by the president's daughter, Hanan Buhari.
Okay.
I even bought a picture. And this man is also called Buhari. Does he have anything to do with the president?
The truth is, I cannot say about that. I don't know much about that. I think we're going to ask him that very question to find out if he has something to do with Buhari.
You can ask him for us and then you can tell us.
Very well, Laila. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Very well.
Thank you. All the best.
Have a nice. Wow, it has really been insightful, amazing, wonderful, exciting. In today's episode, we have actually learned and heard from someone that's been an artist for a very long time. We've seen what motivated him. Art is really life. I hope you're going to stay with me, same time, same station, outside on PTV. I am your host, Cynthia today. Bye for now.
Archer.
It's new, it's here. It's premium entertainment for everyone from August 1st. Get popping every day with Ebony Life TV. Mondays are for Nollywood. Tuesdays are for novellas. The Next Generation have a blast on Wednesdays. Thursdays are for drama. Fridays are there to excite you and binge every weekend.
People's Television Nigeria has gone mobile. You can now watch PTV Nigeria on the go anywhere in the world with real-time notifications. Just go to Google Play Store if you're on Android or Apple Store if you're on iOS. Search PTV Nigeria, download, it's free, it's easy. Now you can catch up with the latest news analysis and political discourse on the go. So stay connected with PTV, Nigeria's #1 online TV.
As usual, I am excited today. Like, AY has done a whole lot for people. I'm not just his baby mama, I am his manager. And we all know that Wizkid had he had numbers of baby mamas. And
he said you don't need some leaders of the National Assembly.
The worst form of democracy is said to be better than the best form of military regime.
We are trying to build political blocks.
Just days after he defected from your party, I believe is the politics taking too far.
Members of the new board of Police Service Commission.
That's also the fact that his seat should be declared vacant because we have some states that have experienced, some level of insecurity.
The headship or the leadership of the Senate or the House of Representatives.
But I have gone beyond that now, beyond partisanship.
I don't think a lot of you know the crisis in the embassy.
We know that the people of the country are getting more information about what is happening to us.
With what you know about the person, you can go ask yourself.
But one of the things I've come to observe is that
I'm the Agberu. That made me like this Agberu.
He don't need PVC. He don't need PVC. I was trying to convince him.
News emerged that Jones Abiri, a Bayelsa-based journalist, is out on bail.
And there's nothing, of course, that makes them to have this guy.
As a citizen, first of all, every citizen has the right. What is happening in the society, what is happening everywhere around him.
From that day, Saraki knew that he was a madman in the APC.
He should ask his people who leaked the information. That is his business.
This is not the first time JSS was taking over the National Assembly.
It may be extremely very difficult to remove a Senate president.
But the question is the viability of most of these 91 political parties.
Of course, you can't prosecute that investigation.
it will be easier for you to have those people with the like minds to join you.
Hello viewers, welcome to this edition of the Darling Program Banking and You. I'm your regular host, Jerry Ojono.
One of the reasons for the crowd in the banking hall have to do with the bulk of people who use the ATM.
One of the banks happened to be one of our very old banks. Okay, they were doing that. They've been doing that for quite a while. You know, the level of education usually cannot be compared to education for those with current accounts. Yeah. Okay.
Dub, dub, da, dub, da, dub, da, dub, dub. Yes.
My name is Jane, and I am 18, and this is where I hang out with my friends. We are deeply concerned about the problems facing Nigeria, but when it comes to doing something about it, we would rather sit on the fence.
Kola. Dub, 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 dub. Yes. Dub, 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 dub. Yes.
Daniel Waboso. Now, British Prime Minister Theresa May is scheduled to visit Nigeria this week. The British High Commissioner Paul Arkwright made this known via a Twitter message on Monday. Arkwright said he was delighted to welcome the British Prime Minister this week. He said the visit will be a huge opportunity for both countries to work in partnership on trade, security, and tackling the scourge of modern slavery and human trafficking. All Progressives Congress has raised concern over a trending fake website, apcregistration.com, which it says is meant to harvest its members ahead of 2019 general elections. The party raised the alarm in a statement issued by Yekini Nabena, its national publicity secretary in Abuja. It said that the fake website was a scam sponsored by the main opposition party, stressing that it was not authorized by its leadership. It urged its teaming supporters and members to take advantage of the ongoing nationwide APC membership registration in 36 states of the Federation and the FCT to register. Senator Ahmed McAfee, a presidential aspirant on the People's Democratic Party, says he is confident of picking the party's ticket ahead of the 2019 general elections. McAfee made the declaration at an interactive session with newsmen in Lagos. McAfee, former governor who served also as the chairman and the PDP National Caretaker Committee, is now one of the 12 presidential aspirants of the party. The PDP aspirant, who just concluded meetings with PDP members in the Southwest, said his exceptional performance as chairman of the Caretaker Committee would give him an upper hand at the primaries. Now, just as the call for more Nigerians to get registered and collect their permanent voters' cards gain more attention, some youths in the Federal Capital Territory have thronged some major streets in the FCT to sensitize the public on the need to get registered for their vote and get a voter's card before August 31st deadline. Emmanuel Bagudu witnessed the campaign and filed in this report.
It's less than 7 days to the end of the continuous voters registration, and these young Nigerians are in the mood to showcase their patriotism by sensitizing the public on the need to beat the August 31st deadline to get registered for their PVCs.
You just tell them, say you want to transfer to, so they can transfer you from the former unit to a new unit when near the place where you live.
It's not a usual awareness walk. It's a campaign that involves a one-on-one sensitization with young ladies as leaders. Favor Anyang, a youth corps member, is the brain behind the initiative.
This is just a PVC awareness walk. We are
looking at encouraging the youth to get their PVC, encouraging the whole Nigerians to get their PVC, and telling them the registration centers closest to them and the reason they should have their PVC. Of course, in Nigeria, we take PVC for granted, but today, Favours Open Arms Foundation came out with friends and well-wishers and families to come and encourage people to get their PVC. The reason they should get their PVC, because it is very important. I was in the studio yesterday and they said it is Power Voters Card. No more permanent voters card. So Power Voters Card, you have the right to put in anybody, remove anybody, do whatever you want to do in Nigeria as long as politics is concerned. So everybody gets your PVC. It is very, 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 very important to have your Power Voters Card.
The campaign also had the backings of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC.
Well, you know, for us in INEC, one of our core duties is to sensitize the people on their civic responsibilities. So something like this is something that is very dear to our hearts, and that's why we've partnered with the foundation, Favours Foundation, to be able to enlighten the people on what they need to do. Because a lot of times we discover that a lot of Nigerians do not really have an idea of how they can participate during election, or even like the registration that is going on. We also discover that so many of them are nonchalant because they have some kind of mindset when it comes to election and all that. So such work as we're having now, it's very important because we can always take time to speak to them one-on-one and explain to them why they need to be part of the electoral process.
Participants in the work are positive. More Nigerians will hearken to their call.
I look forward to a lot of people going out to register their permanent voters card before the 31st of August, because after that you can't register anymore. So I look forward to a lot of people going out this week to go and get their permanent voters card.
It's important for what we're trying to do is to get people to vote. Even today that we've been walking around, people have been saying my vote does not count, I don't believe in Nigeria, this one, I will not vote even if I get the PVC. So what we want to do while we're talking to them is that, so that at the end of the day they will see the importance of voting. But first of all, they need to get their PVC, while we will keep on, trying to get them to vote on that day.
With just 7 days to the deadline of the continuous voters registration, more Nigerians are expected to trunk CVR centers nationwide in this coming week. Emmanuel Bagudu, PT.
Still on election matters and photos cards, eligible voters in the FCT are not satisfied with a 2-week extension period for voter registration. They want the Independent National Electoral Commission to extend it further. This is to give room for more voters to be registered. Polum David tells us more in this report.
Oh yeah, around 5:30 in the morning. So I'll be here. So I must wait to collect my voter card.
This is the major voter registration point at Area 1 in Abuja. Clearly, the turnout is massive, and as usual, there are complaints, mainly over inadequate materials and tedious process.
I came here since 5 o'clock in the morning, and a lot of people feed up here. We wait to say we should write a name. I can see everybody here, around everybody here. We came here to write name. We are waiting we should join line. We are waiting for the line, but there's not enough of equipment to register people's name. People feed up, no way. There is how many equipment? I have only 2 equipment here. Instead of bring more equipment for us to make sure that everybody get a register, to make it easy for us. They don't make it easy for us. Everywhere you can see, the system is not. You can see, look at everybody. So I want to register and I could not register.
I came around 20 minutes past 5 a.m. and I was able to get my temporary PVC exactly 12:30 p.m. So the whole process has been going gradually. The INEC officials, they are doing their best. They are trying, the coordinators trying to coordinate people. But I observed that as the time frame is running up gradually, that people are still rushing, coming to do their PVC.
I am a true Nigerian. I want to vote. So that's the reason why I am here this morning. I want to vote, so I need it. I need it so seriously. I need it. I don't want anybody to deprive me my franchise.
Many here want INEC to further extend the deadline. This, they say, is to allow more eligible voters to be registered.
You must have to add more, because if not, even half of Nigeria will not get the registration. So they need to add more, another 1 month extension. If not, then half of Nigeria will not do this, will not meet up. That's just the truth. And unless they want to punish us in the name of election, that's another way of punishment. You understand? They will not meet up. The truth there is that if they want to cut half of us to vote, then it is. But they should at least look into these needs, that they need to extend it. We need extension so that everybody will have a right to vote, whoever you want to vote.
Urge INEC that they should at least still extend the process, because many Nigerians have not registered. Many find it very difficult because they will push you here, and other things. Some are getting frustrated.
Many here are convinced that a lot more Nigerians would be registered if the process was less tedious.
The voters' education must be continuous. In fact, the INEC officials themselves too, some of them are not really too conversant with the procedure. So there is need for the arm of INEC, which is responsible for voters' registration, to continue to educate the general public on the practice, in particular in terms of redirection, but most importantly, those that want to pick up their PVCs. If you look for redirection, the process is pretty simple and the queue is less, as opposed to, if you look behind me, for that of collection of PVCs. So it's a process that is in motion, but essentially education has to continue.
I've been standing here before I got the right information that we had to go and print out some certain things there, and I did just that. This is less stressful compared to the other ones I have seen.
But INEC officials say the probability of another extension is very slim. This, they say, is because of other issues the Commission has to attend to before permanent voters' cards are produced. So, for INEC, the earlier the process is completed, the better. Paulum David.
Away from voters' card issues now, the Nigerian Army says its troops have killed 3 Boko Haram insurgents while on fighting parole in Kukawa in Bagaluku government area of Borno State on Sunday. The Director, Army Public Relations Office, Brigadier General Texas Chukwu, disclosed this in a statement released on Monday in Maiduguri. Chukwu said the terrorists were intercepted by troops of 82 Division Task Force Brigade deployed in the area. In a similar vein, Brigadier General Bulama Biu, Acting General Officer commanding 7th Division of the Army, has tasked troops to maintain maximum alertness against the enemies at all times in their various formations. Biu gave the charge in a statement released in Maiduguri by Brigadier General Texas Chukwu, Army Director of Public Relations. The GOC spoke during his operational visit to the military unit in Gaji, Ghana local government area of Borno State. He charged troops not to drop their guard and remain vigilant, focused, and resilient at all times in the battlefield. He urged them to ensure that Boko Haram terrorists are routed out from the Nigerian territory. And also, unidentified gunmen have killed the head driver to the Plateau State House of Assembly Speaker, Azi Magaji, and Edward Ankpa, security personnel with the Jos University Teaching Hospital. DSP Tana Tiopev, the Plateau State Public Relations Officer, confirmed the incidents to newsmen on Sunday in Jos. Tiopev said the killing occurred Saturday night in Zarazong community of Jos, North Local Government area of the state. Magaji was walking by when he was attacked by the gunmen. No fewer than 4,000 civil servants in Benue State sat for their promotional exam at the weekend in Makadi. The Permanent Secretary, Bureau of Establishment, Ode Echele, disclosed this to newsmen in an interview in Makadi. Echele said that the category of state workers that sat for the examination were those who were on grade level 6 and above. He said they were drawn from ministries, departments, and agencies, explaining that other state parastatals were excluded. The permanent secretary regretted that most of them sent in their list few days to the date of the examination. Still in Benue now, the Benue State Environmental Sanitation Agency, BENSESA, has arrested no fewer than 500 Makadi residents for allegedly defaulting in the street's monthly sanitation, the News Agency of Nigeria gathered. The general manager of BENSESA, Andrew Chile, who confirmed the arrest, said the defaulters would be charged to the State Environmental Sanitary Court. Chile lamented the poor attitude of residents to sanitation issues, warning that it could no longer be business as usual and that arresting and prosecuting of offenders had commenced in full force. Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center has tasked government at all levels to ensure adequate implementation of the budget allocated to the health sector. This, it says, is in order to safeguard the health of the citizenry. State Executive Director Awal Musa Rafsanjani made the call at the workshop for journalists in Kaduna on basic health funding in Nigeria. Rafsanjani, who was represented by Program Officer Chioma Kanu, explained that the workshop was to train journalists on how to investigate and track health budgets with a view to ensuring proper implementation.
The legislators, CSO and even media need to put their hands on deck to push for the good things to be done for our healthcare in Nigeria. The executive arm of government is the arm of government that brings up the budget. Then the legislative arm of government is the one that passes it, that appropriates it into law every year. So there's a need for the executives to play their oversight role, to pass the law, to do appropriations, to do budget scrutiny, to ensure that enough budgetary allocation is included to the health sector to reduce the issue of poor funding for health. Then, of course, the executives should also do their own best to ensure proper, effective implementation of the budget. We wouldn't want to hear that health budget is returned when health advocates like the civil society and the media are actually asking.
Nigerians appear not to be satisfied at the moment with the Naira. This is due to what they label as the alarming rate of dirty and mutilated notes in circulation. Some Abuja residents describe the situation as an embarrassment, as PTV's Polum David reports.
It looks like a torn and abandoned paper. But on a closer look, one would discover that this is Nigeria's currency notes. For some time now, the Naira, especially smaller denominations, appear defaced, dirty, and most times torn. More worrisome to Nigerians is the fact that currencies dispensed by the ATMs are mixed up with filthy notes. And apart from its negative health implications, the first Naira notes have also affected businesses. Not many people are prepared to accept them at will.
Like now, I have a lot of them. That even like yesterday, they even gave me about 250 Naira. But now for me to spend it is difficult for me. But it's somebody that gave me the change actually. But if the government can like maybe let them, we can take the money to the bank and then they will reprint another one for us. It could be better.
100 Naira is the worst note I've ever seen. And no matter how it looks like, even though when you are telling somebody this money is bad, they will still tell you that that's how they gave them and that's how they will spend it also. So you are forced to collect the note. Even though the note is bad, you don't have a choice. When they give you, unless you don't want the money.
These Nigerians who are willing to continue with their businesses once the trend reversed. So they urge the government to make neater currencies available.
Yeah, what I would suggest to government is that if they can be able to print more denomination, 100 Naira to be precise, I would so much appreciate, because I have faced a lot of challenges on that. 100 Naira precisely, we are battling with the issue of 100 Naira.
Even you see many customers, if you attend to 10 customers that bring 100 Naira, you see that 9 are not good.
So my own matter to Nigeria that they should please and consider us, because Nigeria is a giant of Africa. What we are experiencing in Nigeria is too much. See, Nigeria, we suffer in many ways, including in our nairas again. It's too poor. That they should consider us and print us money.
Because if they give me money when no good, where I go carry go? And if you no collect, your market go there, you no go sell. So how person go do to sell market? Make them bring new money now.
And as the notes circulate, commercial banks and the central bank have been trading blames over who is responsible, directly or indirectly, for the situation. But Nigerians are hopeful that soon the defaced currencies will be out of circulation. Palum David, PTV News.
Some business stories now. The National Bureau of Statistics says about 165.71 million liters of liquefied petroleum gas was imported into the country in the second quarter. The NBS disclosed this in its petroleum product importation and consumption report released in Abuja. According to the report, April recorded the highest volume of LPG imported into the country at about 59.89 million liters. It said 55.37 million liters was imported in May, while the lowest volume was imported in June at $50.45 million in the period under review. According to the Bureau, the station-wide distribution of truck out volume for the second quarter showed that 105.49 million of LPG was distributed nationwide during the period under review. On the foreign scene now, a UN report has said top military figures in Myanmar must be investigated for genocide in Rakhine State and crimes against humanity and other areas. The report, based on the hundreds of interviews, is the strongest condemnation from the UN so far of violence against Rohingya. The report states that the army's tactics are consistently and grossly disproportionate to actual security threats. It names 6 senior military officials it believes should go on trial. It is also fiercely critical of Myanmar's de facto leader Aung San Suu Kyi for failing to intervene to stop the violence. The report calls for the case to be transferred to the International Criminal Court. And in Japan, a Japanese tourist detained for an unspecified crime in North Korea is reported to have been released. Tomoyuki Sugimoto, who is thought to be a videographer in his 30s, has now been released and arrived in China. Reports of his arrest first emerged earlier this month. North Korea had not just said why he was arrested, only he was breaking the law. Japanese media said he could have been filming a military activity. Tourists visiting North Korea are strictly monitored at all times. The secretive country has oftentimes jailed tourists before, sometimes for arbitrary reasons, and used them as bargaining tools in its negotiations with their home states. Among the most noted recent detainees was Otto Wabenia, a U.S. student who was jailed for stealing a hotel sign. Pope Francis has refused to respond to claims by a former Vatican diplomat who has called on him to resign. Archbishop Carlo Maria Vergino also accused the Pope of covering up reports of sexual abuse by a U.S. cardinal. The pontiff was asked about the accusations of reporters on his flight back to Rome after the weekend's papal visit to Ireland. He said he would not say a single word in response to the 11-page letter from Archbishop Vigano. The timing of the letter, released as the Pope's address of sexual abuse by priests during his visit to Ireland, has raised questions about whether the Pope Francis is facing a coordinated attack from traditionalists within the Catholic hierarchy. That's what we can take on PTV today. Many thanks for watching. I am Daniel Mwaboso.
Hi, my name is Dr. Tracy O'Connor, and I'm from Roswell Park Cancer Institute in Buffalo, New York. Breast cancer is essentially a disorder of cell growth that can happen in either the ducts or the lobules of the breast. Essentially, cells in the breast begin to grow in an uncontrolled fashion, ultimately gaining the ability to spread throughout the body. It's important that women notice any changes in their breast because these cancers can be very readily treatable if they're picked up early. The major symptom of breast cancer is generally a painless lump in the breast, although some women do have pain when they notice a lump. There can also be changes in the skin, either puckering or dimpling, redness of the skin, and sometimes a nipple discharge. In this environment, often women will have deformity of the breast as the cancer progresses. Unfortunately, breast cancers can spread to other sites like the bone, liver, lung, and cause symptoms including pain. When a cancer spreads to other sites, when it's a very late stage cancer, what we call a stage 4 cancer, it's no longer able to be cured, although it can still be treated or tried to be managed. So it's just really important that women are diagnosed early with the first notice of a change in the breast, that they report that to their physician, because at that stage they are highly curable. All cancers are diseases of aging. So as we as human beings get better at managing other diseases that used to cause our mortality, our cancer incidence is increasing. In the US, it's been increasing pretty rapidly as human beings age. As we get older, we accumulate many more exposures to things that ultimately can cause cell changes and cause cancers to occur. The major cause of breast cancer, the major risk factor for breast cancer is aging. But there are other things that are important. A family history can increase a woman's risk of breast cancer. If she is overweight after menopause, that can increase her risk of breast cancer. Many of the changes that happen as women advance in society are associated with an increased breast cancer as we adopt a more Western style of life. Things like having fewer children, being younger at the time you get your first period, being older at the time that you go through menopause. So putting all of these together, a woman can help with her physician determine what her risk is. Ideally, women will begin having mammograms between the age of 40 and 45, and we generally recommend that they do this once a year. But another really good screening test, if mammography is not available or is not able to be afforded, is for a woman to check her breasts once a month and to report any changes promptly to her physician. In the United States, even in a high screening environment, 40% of breast cancers are diagnosed by women noticing a lump in their own breast. It is not contagious. So breast cancer cannot be transmitted from one person to another. Some cancers do have the ability to be started by a virus. We've been talking a lot on this trip about the human papillomavirus, or HPV. This is a virus that's associated with both head and neck cancer and cervical cancer. And the reason we've been talking about it is that it is preventable with a vaccine if individuals are vaccinated before they become sexually active. So that's a very important public health measure that could be advocated for in this country. So if we catch it early, women are cured and they can live out a normal lifespan. So in the United States, 90% approximately of women who present with a breast cancer can go on to live a normal lifespan. So that's why it's so important to catch it early. I usually would recommend that people start with their primary care physician. Until a woman is actually diagnosed with the cancer, she does not need to see an oncologist. So following up with her primary care physician or obstetrician gynecologist would probably be a good option. So it feels to me from talking to women in Nigeria, there's a great deal of fear and stigma surrounding a cancer diagnosis. And I would encourage women to take control of the situation, to recognize that breast cancer is highly curable if it's caught early and treated by the right professionals, to check their breasts regularly and really to pursue cancer screening with mammograms once a year so that they can be diagnosed early, be treated, and go on to live a long and fruitful life. I think that knowledge in Nigeria is actually very good. There's a lot of breast cancer here, and physicians certainly know how to treat it. The major barriers are the fact that many women have difficulty affording care. Sometimes care is unavailable, radiotherapy or access to chemotherapy agents. And there's a great deal of delayed presentation. So rather than presenting with a very early, very curable breast cancer in Nigeria, many women delay seeking treatment, either because they can't afford it or they're frightened. And when you delay treatment, that's when your outcome is not as good. So it's not as if the physicians here lack any skills or knowledge. It's that the system is working against them while they're trying to take care of their patients. It seems like the general level of knowledge and awareness is quite low in Nigeria among the population. So I think education is really key to get the word out that there is screening available for cancer, that it is not a death sentence, that with proper treatment and early diagnosis, this is a curable problem for people, and to support cancer patients rather than stigmatize the disease. People who are diagnosed with cancer need compassion and support to get through their treatment. This is not a contagious problem. And these patients deserve our care and support. I try to be very encouraging with my patients. We often talk about ourselves in oncology as being big cheer for the people of Nigeria, especially in regards to cancer care. My name is Dr. Tracy O'Connor. I'm a breast cancer doctor from Roswell Park Cancer Institute in Buffalo, New York, and I'm here to encourage you to get your health information from People's Television.
Before the creation of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission EFCC, Nigeria, the most populous black nation on earth, was confronted with the twin problem of poor global image and the dwindling economic fortunes due to the activities of advanced fee fraudsters, also known as 419ers, and corruption in the public and private sectors. Hello and welcome to the program, The Eagle. My name is Aisha Mohammed. On the program today, we represent to you a special documentary that chronicles efforts made by the EFCC in combating the menace of corruption in Nigeria. Please stay tuned as Aisha Gambari will be our guide right after this timeout.
Before the creation of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission EFCC, Nigeria, the most populous black nation on earth, was confronted with the twin problem of poor global image and dwindling economic fortunes due to the activities of advanced fee fraudsters, also known as 419, and corruption in the public and private sectors. Foreign direct investment came in trickles, and domestic businesses struggled to get by, while the nation's infrastructure was in severe state of decay. The EFCC was therefore created as an instrument of reform to help restore confidence in the nation's economy by instilling corporate responsibility through the enforcement of all extant laws on economic and financial crimes. Since its creation in 2003, the Commission has successfully carried out this mandate with several milestones recorded, including the delisting of Nigeria from the list of non-cooperative countries and territories (NCCT) by the Financial Action Task Force in June 2006. Due to its unrelenting efforts in the war against graft, the EFCC has become a reference point among law enforcement agencies both home and abroad. Ibrahim Mustafa Magu, a commissioner of police, became the acting chairman of the EFCC on November 11, 2015, after taking over the arms of affairs from Ibrahim Lamurde. Magu is one of the founding staff of the EFCC, who served as the head of the Economic Governance Unit during the tenure of Nuhu Ribadu, the pioneer chairman of the EFCC. Since Magu assumed office as the acting chairman, he has been unwavering in his commitment to change the narrative as far as the fight against corruption is concerned. His first challenge on taking the reins of affairs was to address the dwindling fortunes of the Commission by initiating reforms that has ushered in a radically improved work ethics within the Commission. Convinced that an organization perceived to be corrupt cannot fight corruption, integrity issues were addressed by ensuring that round pegs were placed in round holes in terms of postings to sensitive operations position. To ensure that only the best are offered employment into the commission, the recruitment processes were also reviewed. Several measures including aptitude tests, interviews, polygraph examinations, and vetting of candidate certificates and background were introduced amongst others. New cadet intakes employed by the Commission are thereafter sent to the Nigeria Defense Academy in Kaduna for rigorous law enforcement training. Fully conscious of the growing sophistication of economic crimes and corruption, an inventory of the existing operations architecture was taken, which resulted in the creation of new units to address emerging challenges in criminality. New zonal offices were also created in Ibadan, Kaduna, Benin and Uyo, while the Maiduguri office was reopened to improve accessibility of the public to the Commission. The EFCC new head office complex, whose construction was abandoned due to lack of funds, was also given priority. Upon his assumption of office, all avenues were employed to raise funds for the completion of the project. With the support of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration and the 8th National Assembly, Julius Berger, the construction company handling the project, returned to site and the building has now been completed. In the area of operations, the Commission sent a forceful message that impunity will no longer be condoned by taking on the high and mighty in the society. One of the fronts of war being waged by the Ibrahim Magu-led EFCC is leading an investigation into the arms procurement deal saga, allegedly involving top-serving and retired military generals and political leaders. For the very first time in the history of Nigeria, senior military officers, including former service chiefs, a number of serving and retired generals, their civilian counterparts, former ministers, governors, and several politicians were investigated and arraigned for allegedly diverting over $15 billion meant for the procurement of arms to combat Boko Haram insurgency in northeast Nigeria. Also arrested and arraigned was Colonel Samba Dasuki, a former security advisor to former President Goodluck Jonathan. While the alleged free stealing and sharing lasted, hundreds of soldiers were dying on the battlefield. Thousands of innocent lives lost. Women were raped and abducted. Children were rendered orphans, and properties and houses worth billions of naira were destroyed. The 2 million displaced people in camps across the country, while being thankful for their lives, contend with the harsh realities of survival. In many other parts of the country, compatriots continue to live in fear, grief, pains, and sorrow. As the sufferings continued, a few individuals far away in the big cities wined and dined on what is now being called blood money. Investigations by the EFCC revealed that, for instance, in a single stream of transaction, the sum of $2.1 billion moved through the office of a one-time national security advisor to those of several individuals for fictitious services that were never rendered. The money allegedly found its ways into huge private estates of certain individuals, and they acquired properties worth billions of naira across the country even as some allegedly stock millions of dollars in their wardrobes.
How much do you have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, it is estimated to be $50,000. Yes, 10,000 per punch. 50. 100. 150. 200. 250. 300. 350. 400. 450. 500. 550. 600. 650. 700. 750. 800,000. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 500. 1 million.
As an agency determined to ensure that corrupt elements are denied access to the proceeds of their crime, the EFCC, in a calculated raid, combed every nook and cranny of the country to confiscate assets traced to the missing funds. In Abuja, Nigeria, for example, several properties worth over 10 billion naira traced to the retired and serving generals allegedly involved in the arms deal were marked and confiscated by the EFCC. And in highbrow areas in Lagos, Nigeria, the EFCC also traced and confiscated a number of choice properties linked to the culprits of the arms scandal. Apart from the arms deal fraud, the Commission moved into the oil industry. The country's oil subsidy regime, which was characterized by massive corruption, was investigated and many corrupt oil marketers were arrested and arraigned. The subsidy fraud, which was perpetrated in connivance with government officials, drained the country's treasury of billions of naira, allegedly claimed by criminals for petroleum products that were never supplied. The EFCC recorded a major milestone in the prosecution of these defaulters with the conviction of the trial of Walter Wagbasoma, Chairman, Ontario Oil and Gas Limited, Ada Ugo Ngadi, Managing Director of the company, and Jibril Rawaye, Managing Director, Brila Energy Limited, to 10 years imprisonment. But perhaps the most audacious oil sector investigation is the one involving a former Petroleum Resources Minister, Desiani Alison Madueke, and her cronies over various improprieties running into several millions of dollars. In the course of the investigation, operatives of the EFCC recovered cash and jewelries worth millions of dollars from her Abuja home. Other properties worth over $50 million linked to Desiani across Nigeria have now been forfeited to the federal government. While these revelations rankle, most Nigerians were also shocked to learn about how the country's patrimony was frittered in bribes for vote schemes in the 2015 general election. The investigation, which is still ongoing, has witnessed the interrogation and prosecution of a number of politicians, former federal ministers, and INEC officials, amongst others. Investigations by the EFCC into the public service system also revealed that Nigeria lost billions of naira to the ghost worker syndrome, a corrupt practice that injected thousands of non-existing workers into the government payroll system. The syndicate behind this monumental fraud was busted, which led to the government saving over 200 billion naira as nearly 50,000 ghost workers were removed from government payroll system. Still in the efforts to check leakages, the federal government, in a directive issued in 2015, called for the reinforcement of the Treasury Single Account (TSA). The directive ordered all ministries, departments and agencies of government to commence payment of all government revenues into the TSA accounts. The EFCC again keyed into this pronouncement. Operatives of the Commission, in a swift investigation, discovered over 100 billion naira hidden away by defaulting agencies. This calculated move now saves the government over 24 billion naira monthly. The Commission's investigation activities received a further boost with the coming into force of the federal government's whistleblower policy. The policy, which was initiated in December 2016, is primarily to support the fight against financial crimes and corruption by increasing exposure of financial crimes and rewarding whistleblowers. The EFCC quickly created reporting portals via its social media platforms at Official EFCC and through dedicated phone lines. The very first call which came through led to the discovery of $9.8 million hidden in the slums of Sabon Tasha, Kaduna State. The money is said to belong to Dr. Andrew Yakubu, a former group managing director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC. The funds are under an interim forfeiture order, even as Yakubu challenged the court order. Still in Kaduna, following a tip-off, the EFCC also intercepted the sum of about 250 million naira in sacks at the Kaduna International Airport after the bags were sighted unattended to. In Lagos, another tip from a whistleblower led to the interception of 250 million naira in various currencies at a popular textile market in the city. And in the shopping plaza located in the highbrow area of Victoria Island, also in Lagos, the sum of about 500 million naira was also uncovered. The most unbelievable discovery was, however, that of Asban Towers, also in Ikoyi, Lagos, where a whopping cache of over 13 billion naira in local and foreign currencies were discovered in an apartment on the 7th floor of the towers. These funds have now been forfeited to the federal government. In addition to cash and properties, the EFCC Eagle Eyes also cited and recovered several vehicles suspected to be proceeds of crime. Amongst them are 17 vehicles linked to a former Comptroller General of Customs, Abdullah Idiko Inde. The EFCC also waged into the over 20 billion naira pension scam. Several individuals alleged to have stolen pension funds and laundered them were arrested and are currently facing charges. Notably amongst them is Sani Shoaibu Tedi, a former Director of Pension Accounts, Office of the Heads of Civil Service of the Federation, and the suspended Director General of the Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate, PTAD, Nelly Meshak. Serving judges and very senior lawyers are equally standing trial for corruption. They include Justice Rita Ajumagobia and Justice Nwali S. Nguta, amongst others. Also being prosecuted are senior advocates of Nigeria, SAN, including Ricky Tafa and Joseph Nwobike, amongst others. Joseph Nwobike has, however, been convicted to 12 months imprisonment for perversion of justice. Serving and former heads of government agencies also felt the EFCC squeeze. Patrick Akpobolokemi, a former Director General, Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, and 8 others are being prosecuted on the 40 counts charge bordering on money laundering and stealing. Others are Abba Moro, former Minister of Interior, and Steve Orosai, former heads of service, who are also standing trial for offences ranging from recruitment and pension fraud. Former state governors are also being prosecuted for various offences. They include Joshua Dariye, former governor of Plateau State, Jolly Inyame, former governor of Taraba State, Oji Uzo Kalu, former governor of Abia State, and Ikedi Oakim, former governor of Imo State. Others are Alao Akala, former governor of Oyo State, Murtala Inyaku, former governor of Adamawa State, alongside his son Abdulaziz Inyaku, Ibrahim Shema, former governor of Katsina State, Sele Lamido, former governor of Jigawa State, and his sons Aminu and Mustafa, and their Benue State counterpart Gabriel Suswan and his finance commissioner Omodachi Okolobia. In terms of convictions, the EFCC recorded about 500 convictions from 2015 when the present administration came on board to May 2018. Those convicted include a former governor of Adamawa State, Bala Ingilari, to 5 years in jail for procurement fraud, though later upturned by the appeal court, but the EFCC has since filed an appeal against the ruling. A former local government chairman in Kogi State, Gabriel Daudu, was sentenced to 5 years in jail for money laundering, and 3 oil marketers, Walter Wagbasona, Ada Ugo Ngadi, and Jibril Rawaye, alongside their companies, were also sentenced to 10 years imprisonment for oil subsidy fraud. Other notable convictions include that of Accountant General of Kebbi State, Mohammed Arzika Aikengari, who bagged 70 years imprisonment for his involvement in over 1 billion naira fraud. An undergraduate of Kuala Lumpur Metropolitan University, Malaysia, Hope Olusegun Aroke, was sentenced to 24 years imprisonment for his involvement in internet fraud. The commission also secured an extradition order from Justice Abdul Kafarati of the Federal High Court in Abuja for the extradition of Franca Asemota, a Nigerian fugitive, to the United Kingdom for offences bordering on trafficking of minors, and 9 foreigners alongside their vessel, MT Asterix, to 5 years imprisonment for illegal oil bunkering. This is just to mention a few. In the area of international collaborations, the EFCC has also been actively involved in the efforts to repatriate stolen Nigerian assets abroad. These calculated exercises has seen the Commission engaging countries that are believed to be nest of stolen assets. Despite the modest impact that the Commission's enforcement efforts have recorded, the Commission is of the firm belief that law enforcement actions alone cannot win the war against corruption in Nigeria. To this extent, the EFCC gave a boost to its preventive mandate by creating various sensitization programs in order to educate and enlighten the public about the ills of corruption. Awareness roadworks are organized quarterly in order to draw more attention to the anti-graft fight. The Commission also airs anti-corruption programs on leading radio and television networks in Nigeria, even as the social media has been fully embraced as a vehicle for mobilization and information dissemination. Through its Enlightenment and Reorientation Unit, the EFCC has created various enlightenment programs for schools, youth, women groups, religious bodies, and other government agencies. And in a bid to draw more attention to the crusade, the Commission has also embraced the use of music by organizing musical concerts across the country. The Clean Hands campaign was also launched in Abuja and across other geopolitical zones. The program was designed to promote the values of integrity and probity among the younger generation. The Creative Youth Initiative was also unveiled in October 2016. The idea was conceived out of the need to give children a platform to express themselves using arts and various talents in order to speak against corruption. Women Against Corruption, also known as WAC, was added to the EFCC campaign strategy with the flag off of the program in Abuja by wife of the President, Hajia Aisha Buhari, in December 2016. The same program was rolled out in February 2017 in Lagos with wives of all the southwestern governors and notable society women present at the event. Other geopolitical zones are billed to follow soon. For its unrelenting efforts in championing the war against corruption in Nigeria, the EFCC has received several commendations both home and abroad. In August 2017, the EFCC was rated as the most effective government agency in Nigeria in a report conducted by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC. The City People magazine, during its 20th City People Awards for Excellence, also recognized the Commission as the most effective government agency in the country for the year 2016. Magu was also honored with the 2016 Person of the Year Award by by leadership newspapers. Indeed, slowly but steadily, the Anti-Graft Agency is altering the narrative of criminal prosecution in Nigeria and setting a standard for law enforcement agencies within and outside the country. Global confidence has been restored as several donor organizations and foreign law enforcement agencies collaborate with the EFCC, which is opening fresh lines of partnership and collaboration. The EFCC has displayed that courage and dedicated leadership can bring an end to the menace of corruption in Nigeria. And going by the President Muhammadu Buhari's words, if we don't kill corruption, corruption will kill Nigeria. Let us all rise to this challenge.
Indeed, slowly but surely, the Anti-Graft Agency is altering the narrative of criminal prosecution in Nigeria and setting a standard for law enforcement agency within and outside of the country. It is believed that all Nigerians will support the EFCC in its quest for a corrupt-free Nigeria. Please join the fight, as the responsibility is a collective one. And that's all we have for you on this episode of The Eagle. You too can be part of this program by sending your inquiries and suggestions to The Eagle at efccnigeria.org, or search for us on Google Plus at Official EFCC, Official EFCCNG at gmail.com. You can like our page on facebook.com/Official EFCC, or follow us on Twitter at Official EFCC. And of course, you can visit our Instagram page at Official EFCC. To watch our programs and other activities, please log on to youtube.com/official. My name is Ahmed, hoping to see you next week. Always remember that a public office is a public trust, and do not abuse positions of trust for private gains. Goodbye, and God bless Nigeria.
Usual, I am excited today. Like, AY has done a whole lot for people. I'm not just his baby mama, I am his manager. And we all know that Wizkid had a number, he had numbers of baby mamas. And
he said you don't need some leaders of the National Assembly.
The worst form of democracy is said to be better than the best form of military regime.
We are trying to build political blocks.
Just days after he defected from your party, I believe is the politics taking too far.
Members of the new board of Police Service Commission.
You know, that's also the fact that his seat should be declared vacant, because we have some states that have experienced, you know, some level of insecurity.
The headship or the leadership of the Senate or the House of Representatives.
But I have gone beyond that now, beyond partisanship.
I don't think a lot of you know the crisis in the embassy.
We know that the people of the country are getting more information about what is happening to us.
With what you know about the person, you will go ask yourself.
But one of the things I've come to observe is that
I'm the Agberu. That made me like this Agberu.
He don't need PVC. He don't need PVC. I was trying to convince him.
News emerged that Jones Abiri, a Bayelsa-based journalist, is out on bail.
And there's nothing, of course, that makes them to have this guy.
As a citizen, first of all, every citizen has the right. What is happening in the society, what is happening everywhere around him.
From that day, Saraki knew that he was a madman in the APC.
He should ask his people who leaked the information. That is his business.
This is not the first time JSS was taking over the National Assembly.
It may be extremely very difficult to remove a Senate president.
But the question is the viability of most of these 91 political parties.
Of course, you can't prosecute that investigation.
It will be easier for you to have those people with the like minds to join you.
To, da kai da ke da ita da shi da kowa nake so na yi magana da. Me ke faruwa? Kana son karuwa ga ka zaune bakin rijiya amma kana jin kishin ruwa? Gangan jikin siyasa. In ta dangwala ka dangwala na dangwala. Ina amfanin ana yi ba da kai ba? A turancin Najeriya to an gaya maka. No sit down look. Kana sit down kana looking komai na ƙara lalacewa? Ina ka ga daman ƙorafi? Da masu jini a jika ake yi. Watan matasa. Kwankwasa a buɗa ki shige. Dago ka shaki iska ko kalime. Da ƙyar ka sha yafi da ƙyar aka kama ka. No sit down look. Matasa ke siyasa. Yin rajista, karɓi katin zaɓe yana da amfani ƙwarai kwa.
No sit down look.
No sit down look.
No sit down look.
Make una no sit down look oh.
A classico, I tell you, my 3 points is clear.
Yes.
Eh? They go watch match.
Good afternoon and welcome to PTV World Desk. I am Daniel Waboso. Over 6 months after they were kidnapped by Boko Haram, the only Dapchi schoolgirl still held captive, Leah Sharibu, has appealed to President Muhammadu Buhari to rescue her from the hands of her captors. The only Christian among the abducted 109 students of Government Girls Secondary School, Dapchi, Yobe State, made the passionate appeal in a proof of live audio message reported by an online newspaper, The Cable. This is coming amidst speculations on her fate, but The Cable exclusively obtained her latest pictures as well as the audio of her plea to Buhari. Leah, who was kidnapped in February, also appealed that her family members be assisted. All the girls who were captured were subsequently released except 5 who reportedly died in detention, but Sharibu was held back for refusing to renounce her faith. Countries in the Lake Chad Basin said they have concluded plans to clear off the remnants of Boko Haram insurgents in their respective countries. Executive Secretary of the Lake Chad Basin Commission, Ambassador Mama Nuhu, disclosed this at the opening ceremony of the Conference of Lake Chad Basin Ministers in Abuja. The conference is a validation process of the regional strategy for stabilization, recovery, and resilience of the Boko Haram affected areas of the Lake Chad Basin. According to Ambassador Nuhu, the meeting are a critical stepping stone towards a resolution of the crisis around Lake Chad. He said that for decades the Lake Chad Basin has been plagued by underdevelopment, weak governance, low levels of education, and exclusion of women and youth in decision-making structures, and a myriad of environmental challenges that have been exacerbated by drastic climate change in recent times. He added that over the next few days, participants at conference will have the opportunity to discuss, debate, and internalize the draft strategy that has been developed by the Lake Chad Basin Commission and the African Union Commission. Moving on to Kenya, where Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta will meet U.S. President Donald Trump in the Oval Office for 20 minutes before going into an expanded bilateral meeting in the Cabinet Room with their delegations. The U.S. is the largest source of tourists to Kenya, and the country hopes direct flights from Nairobi to New York from October will boost arrivals. Kenya is the 58th largest supplier of goods imported into U.S., and trade between the two countries, which is worth about $1.5 billion, about 1.7 billion pounds, according to America's Department of Commerce. President Kenyatta will also meet UK Prime Minister Theresa May on Thursday in Nairobi after she meets South Africa and Nigeria. A private agency in Kenya has launched a campaign asking women who say they have children with Catholic priests to come forward for DNA test. DNA testing services will carry out the paternity test on behalf of the unnamed International Catholic Organization. The organization will then submit a confidential report to the Catholic Church and the Vatican, which will decide what to do with it. Those who turn up for the test will pay a subsidized fee. Several cases of Catholic priests breaking their vows of celibacy, fathering children, and abandoning them have been reported in Kenya. World War I relic linked to one of the worst maritime disasters in English waters is to be given to South Africa by UK Prime Minister Theresa May. The SS Mendi sank off the Isle of Wight in 1970, killing more than 600 black South Africans en route to the Western Front to support British troops. The vessel was rammed up by a British merchant ship in thick pre-dawn fog. The Prime Minister will hand it to the President, Cyril Ramaphosa, in Cape Town on Tuesday. Now, Ugandan Afro-pop star and MP Bobi Wine has been granted bail by a court in the northern town of Gulu. The court ruled that he did not constitute a flight risk and could keep his passport. Bobi Wine, whose real name is Robert Yagulani, has been charged with treason following an alleged attack on a vehicle in President Yoweri Museveni's convoy. His allies say he is being targeted by the government because he has emerged as a fierce critic of Museveni since he became an MP last year and has drawn huge crowds at rallies. The Ugandan High Court Judge Stephen Mubiru granted bail on Monday to an opposition lawmaker charged with treason over his alleged role in the stoning of President Yoweri Museveni's convoy this month. Robert Gyagulani was charged on Thursday. Moving on to Ethiopia, where Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed in Ethiopia says the 2020 election will be free and will not be delayed by his sweeping reforms to the African nation's politics, economy and diplomacy. Ahmed, who took office in April, had pledged to open up the state-dominated economy and has taken steps to end decades of hostility and neighboring Eritrea, moves that could reshape the country and the border horn of African region. He said on Saturday at his first news conference that the World Bank would provide $1 billion in budget support in the next few months, explaining that this is due to the reforms which is taking place in the country. Since winning office, Ahmed has loosened the grip of a state that had ruled with an iron fist. He said the ruling Ethiopian People's Revolution Party Democratic Front coalition's focus in 2019 would be on preparation for free elections to be held. Abiy has promised to give more room to opponents in a nation of 100 million where no opposition lawmaker is in parliament. The head of the Revolutionary Guards Navy, General Ali Reza Tangrisiri, says Iran has full control of the Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian officials have in the past threatened to block the Strait of Hormuz, a major oil shipping route, in retaliation for any hostile U.S. action. Tensions between Iran and the United States has escalated since President Donald Trump pulled out of a 2015 nuclear deal between Iran and world powers in May and reimposed sanctions. Iranian lawyers asked the International Court of Justice on Monday to order the United States to lift sanctions imposed on Trump administration against Tehran. The presiding judge of the UN body, informally known as the World Court, began the hearing by calling on Washington to respect its outcome. During their decades of animosity, both the United States and Iran have ignored some rulings at the court. The lawsuit filed with the ICJ says the U.S. sanctions, which are damaging the already weakened Iranian economy, violates terms of a little-known friendship treaty between the two countries. We're going to short break now. When we come back, more stories on PTV World Desk.
My name is Co-Commander Robin Ayubagora. I am the Sector Commander at Federal Road Safety Corps, FCT Sector Command. For latest information about road safety and security, watch People's TV.
People's Television Nigeria has gone mobile. You can now watch PTV Nigeria on the go anywhere in the world with real-time notifications. Just go to Google Play Store if you're on Android or Apple Store if you're on iOS. Search PTV Nigeria, download, it's free, it's easy. Now you can catch up with the latest news analysis and political discourse on the go. So stay connected with PTV, Nigeria's #1 online TV.
Welcome back. Iran and Syria signed a deal for military cooperation in a meeting between the defense ministers of the two countries in Damascus, the Tasnim news agency reported on Monday. Iranian Defense Minister Amir Hatami traveled to Damascus on Sunday for a two-day visit, meeting Syrian President Bashar al-Assad and senior military officials. UN investigators say Myanmar's military carried out mass killing and gang rapes of Muslim Rohingya with genocidal intent, and Commander-in-Chief and 5 generals should be prosecuted for orchestrating the gravest crimes of the law. The civilian government led by Aung San Suu Kyi has allowed hate speech to thrive, destroyed documents, and failed to protect minorities from crimes against humanity and war crimes by the army in Rakhine, Kachin, and Stan states. Some 700,000 Rohingya fled the crackdown, and most are now living in refugee camps in neighboring Bangladesh. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan will visit Iran on September 7th, his office said on Monday, on a trip expected to include a 3-day summit with Russian and Iranian leaders. The Kremlin said nearly 2 weeks ago that Russia President Vladimir Putin may take part in a meeting with Erdogan and Iranian President Hossein Rouhani at the beginning of September. The three leaders met in April in Ankara, where they discussed development in Syria. And in Greece now, the Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras is poised to announce a cabinet reshuffle this week to refreshen up a government lagging in the polls as the effect of painful bailouts still bites a year before a national election. A meeting of senior figures in his leftist Syriza party later on Monday to launch a process for the selection of a new secretariat is likely to pave the way for the reshuffle, which will not be wide-ranging. Greece holds parliamentary elections every 4 years, with the next expected by October 2019 at the latest. Now, the Southeast Asian country's foreign minister says U.S. President Donald Trump's generation says U.S. Senator John McCain was a symbol of a generation who helped heal the wounds of war by pushing for diplomatic normalization of ties with Vietnam, the Southeast Asian country's foreign minister said on Monday. McCain, a former prisoner of war in Vietnam who ran for president in 2008 as a self-styled maverick Republican and became a prominent critic of President Donald Trump, died on Saturday. He was 81. McCain had been one of the most vocal proponents in Washington in favor of normalizing ties with communist-led Vietnam, a former enemy of the United States. Australia's new Prime Minister toured drought-hit farms on Monday to show voters after a week of turmoil the government was back to work, but a leading opinion poll showed it now faces an even greener chance of electoral defeat after changing leaders. Prime Minister Scott Morrison became Australia's 6th leader in less than a decade on Friday, after a faction of his Liberal Party drove the ouster of Malcolm Turnbull, but then failed to get its candidate elected leader. The ruling Liberal National Coalition primary vote dropped 4 points to 33%. A news poll showed while the two-party preferred split between the opposition Labour Party and the coalition blew out from 51 to 49 in favor of Labour 2 weeks ago to 54 to 40 to 56 to 44, which would translate into a heavy election defeat. A Tajik or Russian aircraft bombed a northeastern Afghan border district during a clash between gunmen and Tajik border guards, and 6 of the gunmen were killed after they killed 2 of the guards, 2 Afghan government officials said on Monday. Khalil Asir, a spokesman for Takhar Provincial Police, said it was not clear if it was a Russian or Tajik aircraft that conducted the bombing on Sunday in Dokwar district of Takhar province, but 8 Taliban were killed and 6 wounded. Now, Malaysia will not allow foreigners to buy residential units in the $100 billion Forest City project in its southern state of Johor, bordering Singapore. Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad said on Monday the project has faced uncertainty since Mahathir's coalition scored a shock victory at a May general elections, as developer Country Gardens Holdings Co. looks to revive faltering demand for a city planned to be home to 700,000 people. A Country Garden official said the company did not make any immediate response to Mahathir's comment. Malaysians living in Johor complained of large number of Chinese people snapping up properties in forest cities, besides concerns of environmental damage, a glut in the property market, and the impact of land reclamation on fisheries. Russia was not behind an airstrike in northern Afghanistan, and its military aircraft have not been conducting any operations near Afghan's border with Tajikistan, the Russian defense minister said on Monday. 2 Afghan government officials said earlier on Monday that a Tajik or Russian plane had bombed a northeastern Afghan border district during a clash between gunmen and Tajik border guards. We'll go on a short break now. When we come back, concluding part of the World Desk.
My name is Carlo Emeto. I'm the Public Relations Officer, Directorate of Road Traffic Services. For news, safety and security information, watch People's Television.
Welcome back. Now, Russia reports that rebels in Syria opposition stronghold of IDL-IB are planning a chemical attack and will blame the government allies a war monitor said on Sunday. Moscow is a major military ally of Syria President Bashar al-Assad, whose forces have in recent months made territorial gains against rebels. The Russian Defense Ministry said foreign specialists had arrived in IDLIB to stage a chemical attack using chlorine-laden rockets. Russian Defense Ministry spokesman Igor Konaskekov said on Sunday that English-speaking experts had arrived in IDLIB to conduct a chemical attack soon, Russian media reported. China's ruling Communist Party has issued a revised set of regulations governing members' behavior, threatening punishment for spreading political rumor and recommending those who claim to religious beliefs be asked to leave the party. President Xi Jinping's ongoing crackdown against deep-rooted corruption, begun 6 years ago when he took office, has shaken up the party, with Xi warning, like other leaders before him, that the party's very survival is at stake. Xi has accrued more power than any of his immediate predecessors and has intensified efforts to ensure cadres are loyal, disciplined, and upright and honest. The verdict in Myanmar's prosecution of 2 Reuters reporters accused of breaching the Official Secrets Act has been postponed until September 3rd because the judge overseeing the case is sick, a court official said. Scores of reporters and diplomats had gathered at the Yangon court to hear the verdict of journalists Walon, 32, and Yao Soy, 28, the culmination of 8 months of hearing in a landmark case that has come to be seen as a test of progress towards democracy in the Southeastern Asian country. Government spokesman Zhao Tai could not be immediately reached for comment on the postponement of the verdict. The climax of the case comes amid building pressure on the administration of Nobel laureate Aung San Suu Kyi over a security crackdown in the western state of Rakhine that was sparked by militant attacks in August 2017. Pope Francis on Sunday in Dublin renewed his plea for forgiveness for all kinds of abuse of power practiced by members of the church and all its institutions. In a speech during Mass before 500,000 people in Dublin on Sunday, the pontiff spoke of meeting 8 survivors of sexual abuse on Saturday. Pope had earlier said that clergy sex abuse scandals were an open wound that must be treated with firm and decisive actions. He said that this at the Marian Shrine of Knock on Sunday, his second day in Ireland. This open wound challenges us to be firm and decisive in the pursuit of truth and justice, Francis said in an Angelus message at the Maria Shrine of Knock. Drawing applause from the crowd, Pope Francis had on August 15 asked for forgiveness from the families of child sex abuse victims who had killed themselves as a result of their trauma. He equally commended one survivor for telling her story. In comments published in German tabloid Blind, the Pope described Daniel Pitt's memoir, Father, I Forgive You, as a treatment to how deeply embedded evil can be in the heart of a servant of the church. And that's much we can take on PTV World Desk. Many thanks for watching. I am Daniel Maboso.
Television Nigeria has gone mobile. You can now watch PTV Nigeria on the go anywhere in the world with real-time notifications. Just go to Google Play Store if you're on Android or Apple Store if you're on iOS. Search PTV Nigeria, download, it's free, it's easy. Now you can catch up with the latest news analysis and political discourse on the go. So stay connected with PTV. Nigeria's #1 online TV.
Hi, my name is Dr. Tracy O'Connor, and I'm from Roswell Park Cancer Institute in Buffalo, New York. Breast cancer is essentially a disorder of cell growth that can happen in either the ducts or the lobules of the breast. Essentially, cells in the breast begin to grow in an uncontrolled fashion, ultimately gaining the ability to spread throughout the body. It's important that women notice any changes in their breast because these cancers can be very readily treatable if they're picked up early. The major symptom of breast cancer is generally a painless lump in the breast, although some women do have pain when they notice a lump. There can also be changes in the skin, either puckering or dimpling, redness of the skin, and sometimes a nipple discharge. In this environment, often women will have deformity of the breast as the cancer progresses. Unfortunately, breast cancers can spread to other sites like the bone, liver, lung, and cause symptoms including pain. When a cancer spreads to other sites, when it's a very late stage cancer, what we call a stage 4 cancer, it's no longer able to be cured, although it can still be treated or tried to be managed. So it's just really important that women are diagnosed early with the first notice of a change in the breast, that they report that to their physician, because at that stage they are highly curable. All cancers are diseases of aging. So as we as human beings get better at managing other diseases that used to cause our mortality, our cancer incidence is increasing. In the US, it's been increasing pretty rapidly as human beings age. As we get older, we accumulate many more exposures to things that ultimately can cause cell changes and cause cancers to occur. The major cause of breast cancer, the major risk factor for breast cancer is aging. But there are other things that are important. A family history can increase a woman's risk of breast cancer. If she is overweight after menopause, that can increase her risk of breast cancer. Many of the changes that happen as women advance in society are associated with an increased breast cancer as we adopt a more Western style of life. Things like having fewer children, being younger at the time you get your first period, being older at the time that you go through menopause. So putting all of these together, a woman can help with her physician determine what her risk is. Ideally, women will begin having mammograms between the age of 40 and 45, and we generally recommend that they do this once a year. But another really good screening test, if mammography is not available or is not able to be afforded, is for a woman to check her breasts once a month and to report any changes promptly to her physician. In the United States, even in a high screening environment, 40% of breast cancers are diagnosed by women noticing a lump in their own breast. It is not contagious. So breast cancer cannot be transmitted from one person to another. Some cancers do have the ability to be started by a virus. We've been talking a lot on this trip about the human papillomavirus, or HPV. This is a virus that's associated with both head and neck cancer and cervical cancer. And the reason we've been talking about it is that it is preventable with a vaccine if individuals are vaccinated before they become sexually active. So that's a very important public health measure that could be advocated for in this country. So if we catch it early, women are cured and they can live out a normal lifespan. So in the United States, 90% approximately of women who present with a breast cancer can go on to live a normal lifespan. So that's why it's so important to catch it early. I usually would recommend that people start with their primary care physician. Until a woman is actually diagnosed with a cancer, she does not need to see an oncologist. So following up with her primary care physician or obstetrician gynecologist would probably be a good option. So it feels to me from talking to women in Nigeria, there's a great deal of fear and stigma surrounding a cancer diagnosis. And I would encourage women to take control of the situation, to recognize that breast cancer is highly curable if it's caught early and treated by the right professionals, to check their breasts regularly and really to pursue cancer screening with mammograms once a year so that they can be diagnosed early, be treated, and go on to live a long and fruitful life. I think that the knowledge in Nigeria is actually very good. There's a lot of breast cancer here and physicians certainly know how to treat it. The major barriers are the fact that many women have difficulty affording care. Sometimes care is unavailable, such as radiotherapy or access to chemotherapy agents. And there's a great deal of delayed presentation. So rather than presenting with a very early, very curable breast cancer in Nigeria, many women delay seeking treatment, either because they can't afford it or they're frightened. And when you delay treatment, that's when your outcome is not as good. So it's not as if the physicians here lack any skills or knowledge. It's that the system is working against them while they're trying to take care of their patients. It seems like the general level of knowledge and awareness is quite low in Nigeria among the population. So I think education is really key to get the word out that there is screening available for cancer, that it is not a death sentence, that with proper treatment and early diagnosis, this is a curable problem for people, and to support cancer patients rather than stigmatize the disease. People who are diagnosed with cancer need compassion and support to get through their treatment. This is not a contagious problem, and these patients deserve our care and support. I try to be very encouraging with my patients. We often talk about ourselves in oncology as being big cheerleaders. We're really there to support them, help them get through treatment, work with them psychologically, to get the right mindset to get through therapy. But in general, the patients that I care for with cancer are a lovely group of women who deserve the very best care. And the women in this country deserve the same level of care that we're able to give in the States. I would like to see better infrastructure and better support, some sort of public insurance program for the people of Nigeria, especially in regards to cancer care. My name is Dr. Tracy O'Connor. I'm a breast cancer doctor from Roswell Park Cancer Institute in Buffalo, New York, and I'm here to encourage you to get your health information from People's Television.
People's Television Nigeria has gone mobile. You can now watch PTV Nigeria on the go anywhere in the world with real-time notifications. Just go to Google Play Store if you're on Android or Apple Store if you're on iOS. Search PTV Nigeria, download, it's free, it's easy. Now you can catch up with the latest news analysis and political discourse on the go. So stay connected with PTV, Nigeria's #1 online TV.